Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 2026-0503. Today we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. We start with a story that cuts to the heart of how frontier AI is financed and built. According to reporting from the Economic Times and Anthropic's own announcement, Anthropic has raised $30 billion in a Series G round at a staggering $380 billion post-money valuation. The round was led by GIC and Coatue, with participation from Microsoft and NVIDIA. Separately, the Economic Times reports that Alphabet has committed to invest up to $40 billion into Anthropic, and that Amazon has already invested heavily with plans for up to $25 billion more. But the most consequential detail may be what happens after the capital lands. The Economic Times recounts prior reporting that Anthropic agreed to purchase $30 billion of Microsoft Azure Compute powered by NVIDIA hardware. In other words, the same hyperscalers and chip vendors funding frontier labs are also major beneficiaries of the infrastructure spend that follows. Industry observers are describing this pattern as circular capitalism. Capital flows into Anthropic, the maker of Claude. Anthropic then converts that capital into long-term Azure contracts and NVIDIA-powered GPU consumption. For practitioners, this reinforces a hard truth. Large model development remains tightly coupled to rented hyperscale compute. There are three structural effects to watch. First, reported cloud revenue can expand significantly when investors are also infrastructure vendors. Second, chip makers like NVIDIA extract value both through equity stakes and hardware sales. And third, enterprise customers may see shifting procurement leverage as hyperscalers lock in massive long-term capacity commitments tied to specific model developers. For infrastructure teams, the practical signals to monitor include minimum spend clauses in cloud contracts, disclosures around committed versus spot GPU capacity, and price or availability trends in the specific GPU instance families used for large model training and inference. If capital and compute continue to concentrate among a small cluster of firms, pricing power and supply constraints will follow that gravity. Next, we move to South Korea, where the Korea National Growth Fund has approved a 560 billion won equity investment in the AI startup Upstage. According to Yonhap and Chosun, the capital stack includes 100 billion won from the Advanced Strategic Industry Fund, 30 billion won from KDB, and 430 billion won from private investors, including SK Networks, Sazi Partners, Wuri Venture Partners, and Mirai Asset. Upstage, founded in 2020 and reportedly valued at over 1 trillion won, is known for its large language model called Solar. But the investment goes beyond a single company. The same fund committee also approved support for a national AI computing center in Haenim, with plans to introduce roughly 15,000 advanced AI semiconductors, including GPUs and NPUs. Reporting indicates 40 billion won in special purpose company capital for initial procurement, with the potential for loans reaching up to about 2 trillion won for construction and equipment rollout. This is sovereign AI in action. By pairing direct equity investment in Upstage with a national compute facility, South Korea is reshaping its domestic resource landscape. For practitioners operating in Korea, this could mean greater local access to high-performance compute, new partnership channels, and potentially preferential procurement frameworks tied to national priorities. What remains to be clarified are the detailed term sheets, ownership percentages, vendor selection for the 15,000 chips, and how data access, particularly high-quality Korean language corpora, will be structured. When governments concentrate capital and infrastructure around select firms, talent flows and ecosystem gravity often follow. Our third top story turns to safety and governance. The Wall Street Journal reports that OpenAI employees raised internal alarms last June after a user later identified as Jesse Van Rutselaar described scenarios involving gun violence to ChatGPT. According to the journal, staff considered alerting law enforcement, but ultimately did not notify authorities. The reported interactions preceded a mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, for which Van Rutselaar is the suspect. The significance here lies in the operational gap between model-level detection and real-world escalation. Large conversational systems like ChatGPT rely on automated classifiers and human review queues to flag violent or high risk content. But the threshold for escalating to law enforcement is complex. False positives carry legal and privacy risks. False negatives carry reputational and moral weight. For practitioners building moderation systems, this story underscores the need for clear signal to action mappings, audit trails, and transparent escalation playbooks. As regulators scrutinize how flagged interactions translate into downstream actions, companies will likely face pressure to publish more detailed transparency metrics around safety escalations and law enforcement notifications. Now, for a few other key updates in our lightning round. Samsung Electronics is expanding AI features across its bespoke appliance line by embedding Google Gemini into its bespoke AI Family Hub refrigerators and slide-in ranges. According to Samsung's announcement and coverage from Wired and ZDNet, a software update will move food recognition from a local model that identified about 37 items to cloud-based inference using Gemini, enabling identification of thousands of packaged and fresh foods. Wired reports, Samsung says faces captured by fridge cameras will be automatically blurred. This marks the first reported deployment of Gemini in a home appliance, turning kitchen cameras into production-grade cloud vision pipelines. Business Insider reports that AI companies are increasingly hiring philosophy majors into ethics and governance roles. Chosun says Google DeepMind plans to hire Cambridge philosopher Henry Shevlin as a full-time philosopher, collaborating on questions such as AI consciousness and human-system relationships. Anthropic has engaged philosophers in work tied to its Claude Constitution, and OpenAI and Microsoft are running multidisciplinary societal impact projects. For practitioners, the key question is whether these hires influence evaluation metrics and deployment gates, or remain advisory. In healthcare, an April report from the AI Now Institute, summarized by Business Insider, finds that gig work nursing platforms like ShiftKey and Clipboard Health are using automated systems to match shifts, set pay rates, and monitor performance. Katie Wells of the AI Now Institute emphasizes that automation is reshaping work conditions even without replacing workers. For ML teams, algorithmic scheduling and pay setting become high-stakes audit points, especially in clinical environments. Finally, in an interview republished by Crypto Briefing, Ben Fielding, CEO and co-founder of Jensen, discusses neural architecture search as a way to automate deep model design and argues for a shift from vertical to horizontal scaling. He proposes leveraging blockchain security primitives for decentralized verification and dispute resolution in model execution. For infrastructure engineers, the tension between verifiable on-chain guarantees and off-chain performance remains an open engineering trade-off. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.